Oh, how'd you do that? No, it happened. You just,
I think it was just a little small,
okay, yeah, good.
Okay.
No, that's not what you want to take.
I think we'll try to wait a little bit. There's Greg.
Yep, let's go.
We're ready. We were born ready.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Tom Romaine. I'm chairing the Tree Advisory Commission. I'd like to call the January 7, 2021 Tree Advisory Commission meeting to order. And a question, Mr. Schmitz, do we have to read the public meeting notice, or is it sufficient if it's in the agenda packet?
I don't think, Chair Romaine, I do not think we have to read the notice. It's been published.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, Mr. Chair, probably just a motion and second to receive an order filed.
Okay.
Yes.
I've got to beg everybody's indulgence here, but my hearing isn't the best, and now everybody's muffled with masks, so I'm having a hard time hearing you.
I think we should just have a motion and a second to receive an order filed that the meeting's being done by teleconference.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Dearson. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Commissioner Body. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, starting on my extreme left, I'd like to introduce the commissioners. The Commissioner Greg Dearson, Commissioner Arlen Body, and to my right is Ellen Vancouver. Would the advisors please introduce themselves?
Joseph Stadheim, City Engineer.
Tom Schmitz, Park and Recreation Director. We also have advisors in the audience of Derek Nelson from the Public Utilities Commission and Tony Gugesberg as an advisory member. And on remote telephone, we have our new commissioner, Taylor Schenk.
Hello,
Yeah.
Taylor.
Welcome, Taylor.
Thank you.
Yep. Well, moving on to item 4, we have elections for chair and vice chair. Are there any nominations for chair?
I'll nominate Tom Romaine for chairman.
Okay. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, so nominated by Commissioner Van Cura and seconded by Commissioner Body. So I would entertain a motion for a white ballot or unanimous ballot.
I think we, Chair, I think we'll, especially since we've got remote, we'll have to call the roll on every motion and second. So I can do that.
That's no problem, I can do it. But
Okay?
okay, so, let me start with Taylor. Would you be willing to make a motion for a unanimous ballot?
Yes.
Okay, is there a second for that motion on a,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Dearson? So we need, we're good.
That's it.
Okay, so we'll do the vote now. I can do that. Commissioner Van Cura,
Yes.
Commissioner Romaine,
Aye.
Commissioner Body,
Yes.
Commissioner Dearson, Commissioner Schenk.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Okay, I'd like to entertain nominations for vice chair.
I'll nominate Board Member Greg Dearson for Vice Chair.
I'll second that motion.
Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Okay, there are, hearing none, I would again entertain a motion for a unanimous ballot.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, motion for unanimous ballot was made by Commissioner Body, or is there a second?
Second.
Shank second.
Okay, seconded by Commissioner Schenk and Van Cura, and I'll call a roll.
Okay, Commissioner Van Cura,
Aye.
Commissioner Romaine,
Yes?
Commissioner Body,
Yes.
Commissioner Dearson,
Yes.
Commissioner Schenk.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much. We have a chair and a vice chair for 2021.
Thank you for, both of you for taking that
Well,
responsibility.
thank you. You're very welcome. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda, and I would entertain a motion for approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Dearson. Second,
I'll second that motion.
seconded by Commissioner Body. Commissioner Dearson, would you vote on the motion, please?
Aye.
Commissioner Body,
Aye.
Commissioner Van Cura,
Aye.
Commissioner Schenk.
Aye.
Okay, the motion has been unanimously approved. Okay, we have two items of approval of minutes. We have approval of the 2020 September Tree Advisory Commission minutes. I would entertain a motion for approval.
Move.
Is that moved by Commissioner Body? Commissioner Dearson, pardon me. Second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Van Cura. And for a vote on the motion, Commissioner Dearson,
Aye.
Commissioner Body,
Aye.
Commissioner Van Cura,
Aye.
Commissioner Schenk,
Aye.
and Commissioner Romaine votes aye as well. Moving on to the November minutes approval, are there any corrections or amendments? I have one small correction to the minutes, and that's down in new business, end of the second line. The current text says Romaine said a sincere thank you, and that should be a sincere thank you. And that's the only correction or amendment I have. Is there a motion to approve the November agenda as amended?
So moved.
second.
So we have Commissioner Van Cour voting aye, Commissioner Body,
Aye. Aye.
Commissioner Dearson, aye. Commissioner Shank,
Aye.
thank you, Romaine. Votes aye, so we are, have the approval of the November minutes. So moving on to old business, 2020 city reimbursement programs and budget update by the engineering department, Mr. Stateheim.
Right, thank you, Mr. Chair and commission members. The information in your packet is slightly out of date, so I have an updated one that's not going to be the same as what's in the agenda today. Slightly updated numbers as of yesterday. Total reimbursements for 2020 were $3,178.30. And we have an unused balance from 2020 of $4,809.66. And that covered 33 plantings that were submitted for reimbursement.
Thank you. Any questions on the 2020 city reimbursement programs and budget update?
We didn't use it all. Does it carry over to this season?
The next item we're going to look at is the 2021 budget. Well, maybe we could address that at that time. So could we take a look at the 2020 budget, please? Or, excuse me, 2021 budget.
The 2021 budget is what you had recommended at $7,000
Uh-huh.
requested. So that is what the 21 budget is, 7,000.
Okay, any discussion on that and discussion on Commissioner Van Cour's question about the carryover from 2021?
Now,
Miss-
are there still elm trees on, or ash trees to take down on the boulevards?
Mr. Chair, commission members, as far as the DNR grants, that work is done. I mean, there's still ash trees out there in the boulevard areas that need to be taken down, but Mr. Schmitz and myself, we had conversations about potentially requesting the carryover of the unused amount and using those funds for one of the upcoming items in your agenda packet would be the replanting of trees up at Herman Heights Park. Because we have what we'll be going through here shortly, and you'll see there's quite a large number of trees we have proposed up there. So it would be, at this time, Tom, I don't want to speak for you, but it's my suggestion that we would ask for that carryover to use up there.
Perfect.
Other questions? Thank you, Mr. Stadheim. Moving on to old business item 7.3, PUC update or news, Mr. Nelson.
Good evening, Commissioners. Can you hear me? I have no current update, but I'm hoping to have some ideas to present to the Commission the next meeting regarding some hopefully yearly type activity that the public utilities will be doing regarding trees and planting within the city limits. So that's just what I wanted to kind of add to that, but no real item at the moment.
Any questions for Mr. Nelson?
That'll be in the March 4th meeting then?
Yes, that would be correct. Hopefully the March.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Nelson.
Yep.
Item 7.4, Emerald Ash Borer update or news. Commissioner Van Cour.
Emerald,
I'm sorry, I'm ahead of myself. I should have waited until Buckthorn updates. But
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, I believe the removals from the remaining funds of the DNR grant are complete. Street Department, I believe, has about 20 stumps left to grind out. They made real good progress this winter, so as far as that DNR grant's concerned, we're almost done with all activities with that grant and the removals and stump grinding. I believe it's at least, there's probably less than 20 left, but I can't remember the exact number Street Department has remaining for stumps, but they made real good progress yet this fall and winter.
Chair Romaine, members and advisors, I do have information from the Public Works Superintendent, Jeff Hoffman, who was not able to attend today's meeting on the stump grinding topic. And his report is that spring of 2020 had the Public Works Department remove 225 stumps. Fall of 2020 saw 55 stumps removed on the north side of town.
Taylor, are you still there? Yeah, I think we lost Taylor. Leave it for now.
Okay. So autumn of 2020 saw 55 stumps removed at the north portion of town. And also 40 stumps finished in the south side of town, with only 15 remaining. So the Public Works Department has reported only 15 stumps remaining to be removed, and that work has ceased, is my understanding, due to the weather at this time. Other than that, the Public Works Department is busy trimming boulevard trees at this time. That is the EAB report and the Public Works Department report.
Thank you. A question for Mr. Stateheim. How many trees do you anticipate replacing on the boulevards this spring?
I don't have that exact number with me today. I believe it was almost a 1-for-1.
Okay.
I believe, but I'm not 100% sure on that. So I should have asked Mr. Nisley that before I came down, but I did not. So we can report back on that at next meeting. I'll have that number.
Any questions for Mr. Stateheim or Mr. Schmidt? Moving on to item 7.5, Buckthorn update and Conservation Corps crew. Commissioner Van Coor, do you have a report?
Conservation crew, I was not involved since the last report. I tried to total up pretty close for the hours. I put in 381 hours in 2020, and that does not include Brenda Longworth's hours, for which she gets paid. So, got rid of a lot of buckthorn, female buckthorn in the city this year.
Pardon me?
We got rid of a lot of female buckthorn, 381 hours worth.
That's a big investment of time.
Yeah. And that didn't include Brenda Longworth's hours.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Not all of them anyway. Let's see, no. Snow cover's really too much. You know, if you do buckthorn right now, you'd have to kick away, quite a bit of snow, so. Efforts will resume once the snow is 1.5 inches or so. Let's see. Garlic mustard. We did some spraying this summer. What else? Anyway, we're trying to keep garlic mustard out of the bike trail, but it's quite difficult. so. But we haven't given up yet.
Okay.
Because if it gets, yeah, I mentioned last spring, we went to Adams Park, and because it's all comes down from shells, probably 80% of Adams Park is garlic mustard, which, that's gone, so. As long as the cottonwood continues to fly. So we don't really want what happened to Adams Park to happen on the bike trail, so we're trying.
Okay,
Okay? So that's it
okay. Well,
for
thank you.
invasive on park department or city property. Any questions?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Item 7.6, utility billing informational inserts, and that's Mr. Nelson and I. I have not begun to work on the insert yet, so I wanted to ask some assistance from my fellow commissioners in that what invasive species do we want to highlight in this insert? I'm assuming buckthorn and garlic mustard, but are there others that we want to address?
I think that would cover our biggest issues.
Pardon?
That would cover our biggest issues,
Yeah.
the buckthorn and the garlic mustard.
Yeah, it would.
Okay, so I think I will be in touch with you. We can kind of work together on putting the information together, circulate that to the rest of the commissioners and see if there are comments, unless you want to jump into it right now. And then get with you on the design of the, Mr. Nelson, get with you on the design of the insert. Is there anything else that we want to put in if we want space? Do we want to
The
talk
other,
about
I'm sorry, I've got to think of it. Give me a minute. It looks like dill. Which as soon as I see it on the bike trail, then the Park and Rec guys come down, I think with, not Roundup, but the one that doesn't kill everything. I don't know if it's Garland 3 or 2,4-D maybe. I don't know what, do you know what they use?
Is it wild parsnip? Is that
Wild parsnip, yeah, it's wild parsnip. Whenever we see that, it's, and when I like, it's on Cottonwood Street between Broadway and the river, and they came and did the city property, but then Hoffman Construction is right there, and they stopped right at Hoffman Construction, so it's sitting there, I wish they would have just sprayed another 2 feet. Because wild parsnip, yeah, we should put wild parsnip in.
I have it down on my
Yeah.
list of things to do
Yeah.
here.
And a thing about wild parsnip is it's just rampant on railroad property. You go to the back door of Kraft, and it's a whole line of wild parsnip. So when they had some buried trees on the railroad, they took them down when we asked. So I don't know if it's worthwhile to ask them to spray for wild parsnip.
We'd have to make a contact with the railroad to see what they
Yeah,
want to do on
and
their right-of-way maintenance.
right. The previous city engineer was Mr.
I'm not understanding that.
Mr. Kaler?
Mr. Kaler. Mr. Kaler knew the contact. I could text him and ask him who he called in the railroad.
Usually I start out with the police department because that's their general contact, but I know that the engineering departments have been in contact with the railroad in the past, we could work through them.
Well, we would do a lot for the city of New Ulm, as far as invasive species, if we got the railroad to take out their wild parsnip.
Well, we're on the subject now of the utility billing informational inserts, and that's usually something we focus towards the homeowners, because that's who's getting the utility bill inserts. So I agree with you that the garlic mustard on the right-of-way is an issue for us, and so is invasive species on city-owned lands, but those are two separate issues from what we're talking about right now.
Well, for example, when you're walking toward the start of the bike trail where the New Beginnings Church is, there's a lot of, and then the bike trail the bike trail too has pole barns, and there's wild parsnip growing, they all are concrete, but in the little grassy space this big, there's wild parsnip growing there.
Okay,
I,
so is this an issue for
well,
the
if we,
city or the railroad or the property owner?
well, and then where the smasher, the steel recycling, wild parsnips along, they have a sound barrier, very tall, but wild parsnips there. And then I don't know if people that used to own steel recycling, I think, own the empty lot, and there's wild parsnip there.
Okay, but
So
how do we address this through the,
yeah, well, make
An
people
informational
maybe a
insert in it.
photo and ask people like we do for private property, When Perkins wouldn't do it, I went, their buckthorn, I went and did it for them. So I've gone and worked on, but that's all, wild parsnips, all herbicide. I won't, you'll kill yourself if you try to hand pull it. Or rash worse than poison ivy.
I won't help you with the poison ivy because I've had some really terrible
Yes,
cases of
me
poison
too.
ivy.
But the rash is worse than poison ivy. So, I
Well,
don't know what
if we
the
address
DNR is, I don't know what the DNR is doing in Flandreau. I could call, Molly. I don't know what the DNR does in Flandreau with wild parsnip.
I could ask her. Off the top of my head, she's probably told me, but I don't know.
Yeah. So now that I got talking about wild parsnip, now that stuff's so terrible.
Okay, well, why don't you and I,
Yeah,
at sometime after the meeting in the next week or so, we can get together and talk
Yeah.
about what kind of information we want to put
Yes,
out in the
yes.
insert.
yes.
Yeah, other comments on the insert from other commissioners? Okay, well, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Nelson. Next item on here is 7.7, the Big Tree Contest update, and we have already settled on the Kentucky coffee tree as our species to look for this year. I don't know if there's any additional information to update at this point.
Chair Romaine and members, no action on this item. Just kind of, it's an ongoing item for the commission. And so we'll, as we get closer to springtime, there may be some action. And then the 2020 winter, work still goes forward. The tree planting didn't take place, so there will be, that will move forward in this year in '21 for the winter in 2020.
Thank you. Any other questions on the big tree contest?
Just for my information, is there a coffee tree growing on the old entrance to Herman Height? It's a brown, I guess I'm gonna have to look up what a Kentucky coffee tree looks like. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not certain right
Okay,
offhand
okay,
about
I
that.
just- All right.
Okay, Mr. Schmitz, Tree City USA update.
Chair Romaine and members, just a quick update that I am leading the annual data input to the Arbor Day Foundation website on our annual Tree City USA designation. So that is in process, and we anticipate that to be continuing for, that season or that year, 2020. So that's coming along. It's in process.
Have we applied for, it's not AmeriCorps, it's Green Corps? We got turned down last year because we'd had one for 2 years or 2 cycles.
Yes, we are currently not involved with the Green Corps program.
Is there any thought to, in the future?
I don't know, we'd have to look at the DNR website. I don't even know if that program's continuing and what the cycle is. We'll look into that and get back to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving into new business, item 8.1, the Herman Heights Park tree and shrub planting, not the shrub planting, so.
Yes, thank you, Chair Romaine and members. You have in the packet the latest proposed design that city staff has been working on for quite some time, and also volunteer advisors, including Chair Romaine, have been helpful with this. The Park and Recreation Commission has approved it. The Herman Monument Society has approved it, and so the Tree Advisory Commission is the final body to approve this proposed planting plan that we will enact, if not fully, at least partially here in '21.
What landscape architect firm did you, I can't read the.
That would be the City of New Ulm Engineers Office help prepare this plan. One of my technicians, Jeff Anderson, spent a lot of time on this and put a lot of
Oh,
thought
yeah,
into
it
it.
looks very well thought out.
So, thank you. I'll pass along the words.
We have language in our agenda for a motion, and I would entertain a motion so we can discuss the tree planting plan.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, motion moved by Commissioner Body. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Dearson. So any questions, comments, amendments proposed by the Tree Advisory Commission?
I'm curious about the interpretive center.
The present seasonal interpretive center is in the base of the monument, and it's inactive. But you may be referring to a proposed visitor center, year-round permanent new building, visitor center, in the Parks Master Plan. And that is just a concept and a dream at this point in time.
It says interpretive building, it does say building, yeah, right, okay.
Visitor center, yes.
It says
And,
interpretive on the map.
Yes. Future. So that is just in the conceptual master plan of the park. And so staff is recommending no tree plantings in that vicinity at this time. Just as long as I've got the mic, another couple quick items here. Two of our keys with this proposed plan is shade tree, deciduous shade trees, anti-skin cancer, to provide shade to human beings and park visitors. And then secondarily, some some privacy with conifers. So you can see rows of conifers on some of the border, some of the boundaries. And that is to shield car headlights from homes along Monument Street in the parking areas. You see what we may call the north boundary edge, row of conifers, and then here, the east-west row of conifers, and then a little bit on the far west, north-south border for conifers. So that was two key items with the plan, was to provide shade trees to people and to provide a little privacy to the neighbors.
Any additional questions from the commission? Commissioner Dearson.
Thank you. On the terraced wall, some of this has, it says Russian cypress arborvitae. And then that's going to be on the upper, or is it going to be on all of those terraces?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Dearson, that would be only on the upper terrace. The plantings between the two terraces, the wildflower seed has been spread.
Okay.
We're waiting to do our plug, low ground cover type plantings, probably in the spring, to finish the plantings along the wall.
I was interested to see that there's a Minnesota red bud, because typically I don't think red bud has been hardy enough for zone 4 before. They're beautiful in Iowa, but I haven't seen any, so anxious to see how that one fares. Do you get a year or two on the trees that you plant?
It really depends on how we go about this project. If it's bid out, we generally write 2 years warranty, but if city forces plant it, if we just buy and plant, I'm assuming it'll be a 1-year warranty from the supplier. But we have yet to get that far in the process.
Yeah, that when you get a warranty of sorts, do you get, I've always been curious about, of course, I realize if it's a really hot, amount of rain in the growing season and drought and lack of rain, but do all the parks, when city property, when they plant new trees, is there a watering schedule? So they don't, if it's a
Well,
drought year, they
Sure.
don't die.
On a street reconstruction project, there are kind of two different categories here. On our street reconstruction projects, it's up to the contractor to determine if the trees need water, and we have that 2-year warranty. Whereas if Tom's crews are out planting, I don't know what the warranty is from your supplier when you guys get trees and your crews do the planting, but then it's on city staff to ensure. And Park and Rec has a water truck for that purpose and things like that, so, or a water trailer, I guess. But.
Yes, and we also utilize water bags on trees also.
What was I don't know what percentage, but what was the main issue with the failure of the Shell's Brewery donation on the bike trail? Was it proper soil, or?
Yeah, that was a combination of a few items, poor soils and dry summer.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of stuck on my mind. You don't want that to happen again, right?
Correct.
Did any of them survive?
Yes, some of them did, yes.
I haven't.
Other questions on the Herman Heights Park tree and shrub planting? Okay, I'd like to call the questions for approval then. Commissioner Dearson,
Yes.
Commissioner Body,
Yes.
Commissioner Van Cura,
Yes.
Commissioner Schenk,
We have lost Commissioner Schenk due to technical difficulties.
All right, moving on to item 8.2, are there any other items to be brought forth before the commission? Okay, hearing none, moving on to the next meeting. Next date of the next meeting is March 4th at 4 PM here at the City Council chambers. And there being no more business to come before the commission, I declare the meeting adjourned. Thank you for your attention.